never been as depressed and sad as I was than when I got back from Tokyo. What now? I did it. I was so focused. I knew, the amount of breaths I had to take. I knew the amount of steps I had to take. I knew, the stretches I had to do to the minute, the meditation I had to do to the minute.
Our guest today is Nick Mayhugh, a Paralympic champion who has made a name for himself on the global stage. Diagnosed with cerebral palsy at the age of 14, Nick didn't let his condition define him. Instead, he used it as fuel to push himself further, breaking barriers and setting records along the way. From his early days as a soccer player to his transition into track and field, Nick's journey is a testament to his resilience, determination, and sheer willpower. Nick is a 3-time gold medalist, silver medalist, 100 meters and 200 meters world and American record holder. Nick is also a passionate advocate for disability representation in sports and is working on several exciting projects.
I'm very proud of what I did, but that doesn't define me. I'm 27, I've done all these things, but I still don't know who I am. It's never too late to start, and it's okay to not be okay. Nobody's perfect.
While you look forward to being 30, I'm actually dreading. I'm 29 years old, so my 30th birthday is coming up.
You should be excited, man. You're gonna have more bad days than good, and you kind of have to take something from each day. It's important to know that no matter what it is, it'll be okay.
The Avenue of the Strongest is a podcast dedicated to exploring the lives and experiences of the most inspiring individuals from around the world. Each episode features interviews with fascinating guests who share their insights and wisdom on a variety of topics, including education, impact, motivation, health, and learning. Here are your hosts, Anayet Chowdhury and Vlad Suleiman.
This podcast is sponsored by ArgoPrep, an award-winning edtech company serving over 1 million students nationwide. We understand that as parents, you want to ensure that your child receives the best education possible. Say hello to ArgoPrep. With over 15 plus educational awards earned in just the past year, ArgoPrep's platform offers your child video lessons, quizzes, drills, printable worksheets, and more. Best of all, your ArgoPrep subscription comes included with 4 comprehensive digital workbooks that cover all 4 subjects: math, ELA, science, and social studies. Visit ArgoPrep.com today and start your free trial.
It's funny. Right before we hopped on this, I was looking at your Instagram. I think I must have missed this post, but I just saw you shared this 1 week ago of you winning the gold medal for the 3rd time and your family's reaction to it. That was really powerful, really, really intense. Wow, I can't. That's such a beautiful feeling, man. It's like,
yeah, it was. It's funny that you brought that one up because the one that went more viral, I guess, the 100 meters. So when I won my first gold medal, that reaction, I posted that because my dad, obviously, in Tokyo, there wasn't, my family wasn't able to be there. My coaches weren't able to be there. My brother wasn't able to be there. And the stands were completely empty. And something I asked my family to do was to record them watching the race so I could, watch it back with them, to have that, to try to replicate that feeling of having them there. And, it kind of went viral, the video that I posted of them reacting to it. And then, so there was people in the comments saying that was, the worst reaction ever. They didn't even get out of their seat. And, I think my parents, my dad and my stepmom were just so in shock of everything that they, didn't really know what to do. They hugged each other. My dad started to tear up and cry. It was really emotional. If you see it from, not trying to dissect it from a, going crazy standpoint, it's magical. But so I kind of posted that the 3rd one, in response to people being like, oh, that wasn't enough of a reaction. And then that one was my little brother's reaction. He's obviously, screaming and going crazy, and you can hear the rest of my family in the background. And then I responded and I was like, is this good enough for you guys? So, it's a little banter back and forth on social media, but, there's no feeling to describe what that felt like, to watch. I remember sitting on the bus on the way back to the Olympic Village, just watching those videos of them sending it to me and, just crying and just being so overwhelmed with every emotion possible, and just, being so frustrated and upset that they couldn't be there, but then so joyful
Yeah.
and appreciative, for them to be able to experience that in their own way. And then, it was just, it's incredible.
No, it's such a magical moment, and it's definitely a very emotional video. Actually, I didn't watch the first one, so now I have to go back and find it. But I love how, of course, on I'm not a huge fan of social media. In fact, I personally post very limited things about my life on social media,
Hmm.
exactly for that reason. People love to dissect. I mean, you can never please everyone, so I respect everyone who also has to put out a lot of content on social media. And as
Hmm.
a brand, we're almost forced to use social media. Like, this is right now what we're doing. This is going to go out on social media. And this is kind of
Hmm.
a rant over here, but like we were just talking about this. We're in the education space. We sell workbooks. We never cared about social media, but as a brand, and we've been around for 9 years now. I started the company when I was in college. But here's the problem: even though I hate social media, we're almost forced to do it because the next generation of teachers, they're going to be making purchasing decisions on TikTok, based on TikTok videos and
Hmm.
user generated content. And so, although I'd like to be, quote unquote, a traditional company, like, we won't survive. So it's kind of like, yeah, social media is negative, but it also has a lot of great things about it. But we're almost forced to be in that space, and people have a lot to say no matter what kind of
Yeah, I
content we
mean,
put
it's
out.
it's currency today. The your
Yeah,
following, and the ability and impact you're able to have on social media is used as a currency in a way. And as much as
yeah,
I don't like it as well, I'm the same as you. I don't. You sort of have to play into it as a brand and as a an
yeah.
athlete, and you have to do what your team tells you to do, and what you want to do. And I put out a majority of stuff I put out for myself and what I want to put out. But there's always the orchestrated things that you have to do, and it's funny because people will DM me, or see me out, or fans will see me at competitions, and they're like, hey, like, don't play into the negative stuff. You have so many positive things going, people that support you. And what they don't understand, I think they just don't want to necessarily believe it, is that you kind of have to play into the negative things to then
Yeah,
create the next flood of content. And it's,
that's
I
true.
don't really pay the negative stuff any mind personally. Like, that doesn't affect
Yeah.
me. I'm not laid up at night looking for comments and, really
Right.
letting that hurt me. I just,
Right.
I wake up, or I'll post something and see it. And I'm like, okay, cool. This guy said this negative thing. I can use this to educate my next video, and then further educate people, and it just to start another topic. And you kind of have to use that. So when people watch
Yeah.
my videos, they're sort of orchestrated that way to you know make a few people upset, so that they can comment those negative things, and then I can get the flood of support and positive things that is the underlying message of what I'm trying to get out, and the educational piece
Yeah.
to it. So it's kind of, you have to play twofold. It's the yin and
Yeah.
yang of today's currency.
Hey there, before we dive back into the episode, I wanted to stop for just a brief moment and express our heartfelt gratitude.
Knowing that you've chosen to spend your time with us, to listen and engage with our content, truly warms our hearts.
Every story we share, every topic we discuss is made much more meaningful if you are here with us on this journey.
If you found value in what you've heard so far, and you're excited as we are about the episodes to come, we'd be so honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. It not only ensures you stay informed of all of our new content, but it also supports us in continuing to create and share. From all of us here, a sincere thank you.
Now, without further ado, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. I want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
At any time you won that gold medalist, do you remember what you were thinking about right in that second after you won, or is it all a blur? Like, you have no idea? Like, I just, out of curiosity.
Well, it's funny because I always say, I don't, I wish I took it. I mean, I've never been so locked in and focused mentally, um, before Tokyo. As soon as I got there, I
Hmm.
understood. I think it was, a blessing in disguise. Not that COVID was, but I think, not having my family there, not having my friends there, not having the atmosphere that is usually at the Olympics or at an international event of that stature. I was able to go there knowing that, hey, I'm going there for a job. I'm going to be isolated. I'm
Mm.
going to be in my own room. I'm not going to be around anybody. I was meditating, talking to my, therapist, my hypnotherapist, daily, just doing things that I normally do, but with other people. And to be able to do that and
Mm.
hone in on by myself, it, I, I wish I could tell you more of what I remember, but truthfully, I don't remember a lot. As soon as I walked into the stadium, I sort of just went like tunnel vision and just
Tunnel
sort of
vision.
blacked out in
Yeah.
the sense of I was so focused. I knew, the amount of breaths I had to take. I knew the amount of steps I had to take. I knew, the stretches I had to do to the minute, the meditation I had to do to the minute, and to everything that I had scheduled, done. It was just all routine down to the exact minute. And then there are obviously, the things that you can't control, but then they walk us out to the blocks and, just hearing, on your marks. And then
Yeah.
it was just like, it was the most, it was the wildest experience because I felt like I wasn't even in my own body in that moment. It was just like
Wow.
I was watching
Okay.
myself do it, and it was just on
Wow.
autopilot. And I remember getting into the blocks, and I don't remember what I was thinking. I don't remember them saying set. I don't remember the gun going off. I just remember reacting and just,
Yeah.
getting up, separating myself, staring at the clock, running through the line, screaming, and that was my emotion. That was my true response to it. Is just that what I was thinking. Just, you know, I did it. It's just such
Yeah.
a overwhelming flood of emotions. Because in that moment, I remember standing on the podium and just thinking back of the amount of work I had to do, and being so tearful and grateful for that moment specifically, being able to look up and see, my name and a gold
Mm.
medal, and to see um, the U.S. flag wave, and to hear our national anthem, and to know that, my team did it, I did it, we did
Yeah.
it, and to be able to, be to really put in that amount of work, to really sacrifice 2 years of my life, to train 6 days a week, every day
Yeah.
for every week for 2 years, to be able to put all that, and then to be able to see what that felt like, to see that what that outcome was, and to really just be so thankful and be like, okay, I did it. Like you always
Yeah.
set a goal for yourself, and you always, whether it be weight loss or anything that anyone that's listening may go through, set that goal and work backwards. What do I have to do? Everything possible to get to where I want to be. And I did that. And to be able to, really reap that and to relive it and think about it is just such a wild thing to think about. I don't really know how to put it into words. I kind of am all over the place about it, but it's just an undescribable feeling until no matter how big or small, and it's
Yeah.
funny because people will always say, well, I didn't do that, but I ran a marathon. And I'm like, I've never ran a marathon. That's the same
Yeah.
thing. It
Yeah.
just because mine was, broadcasted on TV or something. It's the idea is the same. You set out a goal for yourself and you achieved it. That's amazing. And nothing that I did is better than what you did because of the stature that it's on. It's the same thing. It takes the same amount of determination and will to do that than what I did. And it's such an incredible thing. So to be able to talk to people and like answer your questions like that, that's truthfully what it is. It doesn't feel any better or any less than setting a goal out, no matter what it is, losing 5 to 10 pounds and beating that, you know? And that
Yeah.
was that goal, and that was that fulfillment. And, I can't wait to do it again.
Okay, so I love that response, by the way. And let's clarify. What do you mean by you can't wait to do that again? What do you have up your sleeves? What are you training for?
We have the Paralympic World Championships in a month in Paris. So in July, we'll go over there, and I'll be running the 100 and the 400, and then the 4 by
Okay.
1 relay. So that'll be, that's my next goal. I'm just training, you know, leading up to the Olympics next year, and wanting to do it all over again there. I'm not a world champion yet, and that's something I want to take off my list of things I want to do. And so that's going to happen in less than a month from now. We'll be able to have
Wow.
a conversation, in a month or two from now, when we do another episode, and I'll be able
Yeah.
to say I'm Nick Mayhugh, a world champion,
Wow.
and
I love that. Looking
that'll
forward to
be
that.
thank you.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. What can you for our audience who doesn't know your story? Uh, Obviously, at age 14, you were diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Is that correct?
Yes.
But before that, you were like playing soccer. You were very good at soccer, super active in that, right?
Yeah, so from the for as long as I can remember, I always knew that there was something quote unquote wrong with my left side. It didn't feel like it did on my right side. I couldn't do simple things like tie my shoes till I was a certain age. The recorder that we had to play in elementary school, I couldn't play it because I couldn't feel the holes on the recorder
Mm,
with my fingers on my left hand.
wow.
Something as simple as getting dressed. I had to lean up against my wall to help balance myself to get dressed in the mornings, or sit down to put my socks and shoes on, as silly as that may seem. It's just something simple as little things like that when I was growing up that I realized that I didn't really know if it were normal or not. And then I got to school and got to hang out with my friends, and I started to see that, like, hey, I can't do the things that these kids are doing, and I don't
Mm,
know why. And I was an ignorant, stubborn, hard-headed kid, but I was very active, and that's where
yeah.
soccer was my saving grace. I would be able to be on the field, and because I was faster than a lot of kids athletically, I was able to, run by them and just use my right foot and kind of
Mm,
hide the discrepancies of my left side with my right side. And then my coaches started to pick up on it. And I remember from an early age, God bless my coaches. They really pushed me to make myself better in a sense.
mm,
And, they used to always say, we're going to play this game. Everybody's got unlimited touches. You can use both feet. Nick, you have two touches. You can only use your left foot, just to try to help me get
wow.
better.
Okay.
And they were like, if you touch it with your right foot or take more than two touches, you're going to be running the rest of practice. And I would spend a
Wow.
majority of those practices running because I
Yeah.
couldn't do it with my left foot and I didn't know why. And they just thought, my left side was my weak foot. I was right-handed,
Mm,
right-footed. It was just natural. You'll grow into it. You just need to work at it. And so that's the mindset that I had, because I would go to the doctors for physicals and, other things, and would always say, like, hey, I can't hold a fist for as long as I can with my left hand that I can my right. Or, I can't throw a football with my left hand. Or, I can't do simple things with my right. I can't write. I can't play piano. I can't play the recorder. I can't type correctly on a keyboard. Simple things. I can't tie my shoes. I'm old enough.
yeah.
I should be able to tie my shoes. And they would always assure me that, like, hey, nothing's wrong. You're okay.
Mm,
You'll grow into it. Just keep working at it. It's okay. It's all right. And it wasn't until I was 14, that I started to hit puberty. My hormones started to flood through, and then I had my grand mal seizure. And I was rushed to the hospital, and they finally took an MRI. And I remember looking at my MRI for the first time, and my neurologist, put my MRI up there on the screen, and you could see the big golf ball sized hole in my MRI that was
wow.
on the right side of my brain that affected my entire left side. And my mom had a rough pregnancy with me. Anything that could have gone wrong went wrong. She's
Wow.
okay, God bless. And I was able, to live the life that I have, and in a sense, to be able to have that golf ball sized hole in my brain and to be able to live the life that I live is a medical miracle. I should not be in the
Yeah.
position that I'm in. And I'm very blessed and to, be able to live the life that I've lived physically, and just being able in just the matter of being able to walk, being able to talk, and, the things that I've been able to do. I've talked to a number of therapists and neurologists, and they all look at my MRI and they're like, you should not be able to do the things that you're doing based on
Wow.
your scan.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show how powerful the brain is, but how
Yeah.
powerful, your mind and your body are to compensate for the things that, you tell yourself that you're able to do, you're able to compensate for, and everything above. It's incredible. And I'm so fascinated by the brain and by other, athletes or people that have overcome things, whether it be neurologically or physically. The brain is such a powerful thing, and it's just so incredible to be a part of that and to continue to learn about things every day, just within myself. I'll get out of bed and try something that I've never been able to do, and I'm like, oh, I was able to do it today. That's cool. Like, I
Wow.
open a jar
Yeah.
with my left hand, and I'm like, all right, cool. And then
Yeah.
that night, my brother will toss me a jar, and he's like, hey, open this. I'm like, I can't. I can't. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
The little things like that are just little
Yeah.
victories.
Well, the most powerful thing for me is the fact that all the people that you're inspiring, that is huge. That is so important because I mean, first of all, quote unquote normal people need
Mm-hmm.
other people. They look at other people for inspiration all the time
Mm-hmm.
in this situation. And I know you're doing a lot in this space, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. But I was actually watching your commencement speech you gave at Radford University, and the thing that stuck with me is you said you emphasize that it's okay to not have everything figured out at a young age. I think it's a very important topic to talk about. Can you elaborate on this? Like, why is it okay not to have everything figured out at a young age?
I think, that's the most important thing that I try to get out to the younger generation or the people that are just willing to listen. That it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not have everything figured out. No matter what age you are, you always see those things on Instagram and those statistics that come out, that, Steve Jobs, was bankrupt until here, was the founder of Apple at this age, or, Oprah,
Yeah.
didn't get her talk show to this age. All those certain things that kind of reassures me that even though in the position that I'm in, at that time that I was giving that speech, I was, 26, and I was a gold medalist, world record holder. But you take Nick Mayhugh, the gold medalist, Nick Mayhugh, the athlete, out of the equation, and you just talk to Nick Mayhugh, the person. I'm still figuring it out. I did. I'm
Yeah.
very proud, and I know the importance of what I did in terms of athletic feats, and I'm very proud of what I did. But that doesn't define me,
Yeah.
and neither
Yeah.
does my disability. I'm a person just like anybody else. Yes, I've done, some extraordinary things that I'm very proud of, and people will put me, you know, uh, on a pedestal per
Yeah.
se to say,
Yeah.
you did this, that's incredible, congrats. But I don't necessarily care about that because personally, I don't know who I am without that. I've been so hyper fixated on Nick Mayhugh, the athlete, to distract myself of things that I just don't want to deal with in life in general. And that's something that I'm
Wow.
still figuring out. It's a very conflicting, hard thing to talk about and to understand personally because I haven't figured it out yet. I'm sitting here today, I'm 27, I've done all these things, but I still don't know who I am, what makes me happy outside of that, my hobbies, my goals outside of sport, outside of, what I'm doing as my career. I just want to be happy. That's my goal. That's my dream. That's my Olympic gold medal. That's my world record, is to be happy. That's what I want. And not to say that I don't do all these things to make me happy because they do, but it's not fulfillment. It doesn't fulfill
Mm.
what I'm striving to do. And I think that's the message that I'm trying to get across is that everybody has their own life's disability. And mine just happens to be that I'm physically disabled. And that some people in that audience or that are going to be listening to this, it may be, your disability may be, your friends, your parents, people that are that seem to be your biggest supporters, they might be your disability. And you won't understand that until you kind of take a step back and look at it at, your life and what you want to do as a whole. And I was trying to encourage the audience and the students there that were graduating to really just try to take a look at what they want to do and what will fulfill them in their life. Because you always go through and people will tell you, teachers, professors, your parents, counselors will tell you this is what you have to do because this is the way it's always been done. But if it doesn't make you
Right.
happy, then what's the point of doing it? And I
Wow.
think it's okay to understand that I don't think at 21 or 22 years old you're supposed to have your life figured out. I more recently I've always talked about it. I'm getting quote unquote kind of old. I'm 27, and my friends would be like, "Hey man, like you're getting old," and I'm like, "Hey, like I'm so excited to turn 30. I think my life is going to start when I'm 30. Like I'm so excited to turn 30 because that's so young, and I have so much more to do. There's so many more things I want to do, outside of sport and outside of what I'm doing now. And I think that that's such a incredible thing to understand and realize that, you know, it's never too late to start, and it's okay to not be okay. Nobody's perfect. You're going to have more bad days than good, and you kind of have to take something from each day to better yourself. And as long as you're doing something to better yourself, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 year at a time, then you're going to do better. You're going to be better. And it's important to know that no matter what it is, it'll be okay.
Wow. This is actually an incredible conversation because this is a topic that's not talked about often. And by the way, while you look forward to being 30, I'm actually dreading till I hit there. I'm 29 years old, so my 30th birthday is coming up, and
You should
I
be
don't know, man.
excited,
I don't
man.
know. I know. I that's my own set of issues, but man, I feel like I remember what 21 was like yesterday. It feels like, yeah, I mean, I still feel like I'm 21, but
Yeah,
man, I can't believe I'm turning 30. But
yeah.
I really want I want to focus I want to talk a little bit more about what you just said a couple minutes ago, which is very important is you've won these gold medals, and you've won so many things, and you've kind of let that kind of define who you are. It's but that's not who you are, and you're still
Hmm.
figuring it out. That's something very powerful because I don't want to compare your story to my story because we have completely different stories, but the feelings are the same.
Hmm.
Like I feel like my entire life, all I'm associated now is with like, oh, like I built like companies, and I'm in, like I'm an entrepreneur, and I
Hmm.
create products, and but I don't know who I am. Also, I'm figuring it
Hmm.
out. I have no idea who I am. I know I'm a good operator, I suppose. I can build stuff, but that doesn't mean that's who I am.
Hmm.
And you're right. I'm also lost. I mean, in many, I don't know. Like, I don't know what makes me happy. I mean, yeah, sure. I love doing exactly what I'm doing right now, and I'm sure you
Hmm.
love what you're doing as well. But that doesn't define who you are.
Hmm.
I mean, that's so powerful. I mean, people don't really think about that. It's like, oh, Nick, oh yeah, Nick, yeah, he's he's amazing. He has everything figured out, and
Hmm.
yet you're sitting here at night trying to figure out who you are, what makes you happy, what would satisfy you in life.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's that's
I
deep.
think the thing that's not talked about as often as it should be is the come down from you know
Mm,
the come down from the whether it be the Olympics or just any competition that I guess you win or you lose. You're not you're I don't think any human is supposed to feel that natural euphoric high, that high.
yeah, yeah,
That is the Olympics. That is the Super Bowl, the NBA championship that just happened last night. Those types of achievements. And for me personally, to be able to go to Tokyo, set out a goal of 2 years from now, I want to be a gold medalist. 3-time, 4-time gold medalist. I want to break a world record. This is what I'm going to do, and setting that goal, and then doing it. Winning 3 gold medals, standing on the podium 3 times in first place. Winning a silver, which is incredible. And to be honest, I was upset and I was mad, and it's crazy to say because my coach got mad at me because I won the silver, and I don't really, I kind of, it's an afterthought to me, my silver medal
mm,
and, that race. And my coach was very upset with me. After that race, was like, hey, you won a silver medal. And I said, I didn't win. He said, you won a silver medal. He said, there
yeah,
are athletes that work their entire life to be able to get their shot. And they celebrate a silver medal like it is gold. You won a medal. You achieved an
yeah,
athletic feat. Be proud of that. And I didn't understand that because I'm so hard headed and stubborn, and I was so ignorant in the sense of achievement that I didn't win gold, so I failed. You didn't fail. You
yeah,
won a silver medal, and going with that, I was able to be on that podium 3 times to listen to our national anthem, and a fourth time to listen to another national anthem, but to look down and see a silver medal and still understand in that moment that I achieved something that I didn't have yet, and that's still great. But what I don't think is talked about enough is the the human body is not supposed to feel that type of euphoric high because everything after that you're going to
yeah.
relate to that feeling. And when I got home, I speak about it very little, but I'll tell it here is I've never been as depressed and sad as I was than when I got back from Tokyo. Got back to the
Wow.
US, And, I remember sitting in a hotel room with my family and, watching my brother and my dad, look over my medals and get teary eyed and, just like, we did it, we did it, this is crazy. And be able to watch them making me emotional. I was, I did it. And in that moment, I remember thinking, what now? I did it. I've done everything that I've set out for. I did it. And now what do I do? And I remember my mom having a conversation with my mom and her asking me, what's wrong? And I was like, Mom, what do I do now? I don't have training tomorrow. I'm not training towards anything else. The next Olympics is 3 years away. What do I do? In that time, what do I do? And she looked at me and she just said, do it again. And that's all it took. It's just that one little bit of reassurance from her that, I haven't won any medals in Paris. I'm not a
Right.
gold,
Right.
I haven't done that. And so that next couple weeks, those next couple months were the most depressing, sad, sort of empty months of my life because I didn't have anything to do. And that's what
Yeah.
really opened my eyes to understand and reassure myself that it's okay to not be okay in those moments, because even though I had achieved the greatest achievement in sport of winning, a gold medal and breaking a world record, right? But,
Right.
coming home, my gold medals are in a shoebox in my closet. They're
Yeah.
not they when I leave this earth, they're gonna still be here, they're gonna be, an afterthought of everything. It's a
Yeah.
material thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I
100%.
sort of have in my head of, it's crazy to think that, and that's what's kind of propelled me to try to figure out, to force myself to figure out what defines Nick Mayhugh, the person, the man. Am I going to be a great father? Am I a great son? Am I a great
Mm.
brother and friend? You know, those are the type of things that are going to fulfill me more than a world record or any gold medal. And educating the youth, the next generations. I can't wait for somebody else to break my world records. I can't wait for
Yeah.
somebody else to beat me in a race, because I know what it's going to take to beat me, because nobody's going to beat me. So I'm going to force other people to do it. And that's the impact I want to have. And it's not a sense of, oh, but you lost. It's, yeah, but my influence on these people, on that person, is what propelled them to be able to do it. And that's going to fulfill me. And that's what is going to be able to, I'm going to be able to take away from it when I leave this earth is, the impact that I want to have on people, on the disabled community, and just on the world as a whole is going to be something greater than the name Nick Mayhugh could ever do on the track or on the field. And I think that that's such an incredible thing to kind of have realized that, as young as we are, at an early
Yeah.
age in our life, you're about to turn 30, and that's such a blessing that you get to turn 30. And you
That's
get to
true.
turn 30 for the first and last time, and you have your whole life ahead of you. And and it's just such a cool, different outlook that you sort of have to force yourself to look about. But I had to go through that experience of that ultimate high and then that ultimate low to now be able to try to find somewhere in the middle to not compare anything else to.
Yeah.
And, I'm doing it for the first time, and I'm going to make the most of it. And, and I hope that I do it the right way.
Wow. This is such a powerful conversation because it really, I mean, these words of inspiration, or I won't even call it words of inspiration. This conversation right here is so important for many of us. Uh, I mean, I feel like you realize this at a young age, like this realization and this mindset that you're at right now.
Mhm.
Like I feel like most of us or most people find that out like later on in life. Or like, oh shoot, what have I been doing all my life? I thought
Mhm.
I'd climb the corporate ladder and I'm all this big. I'm such a huge big shot, be VP or CEO.
Mhm.
But now I'm just realizing, oh man, like the only thing that matters at the end of the world when I leave is my wife. Have I been a good husband? Have I been a good partner? Whatever it is. Have I been a good father? As you've mentioned, those things are
Mhm.
so. Have I been a good son? Those things are that's so powerful. And you know what? So many of us don't think about that because we're all caught up in just, well, I guess it's not our fault also because a lot of us are struggling, right? You have to grind it out. We live in a capitalistic society, which by the way, it's beautiful. I mean, capitalism does work and I'm a huge proponent of that. Not to go into politics, but a lot of the times we lose sight. It's just work, 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 climbing up the ladders and then forgetting about all the roles. And I mean, those specific roles, which I deeply respect that you brought up, is: am I a good son? Am I a good daughter? Am I a good father? Am I a good wife?
Hmm.
Those things that I think we miss often.
Hmm.
And those are the people that care about us the most. Those are the people that actually define us, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that's
Exactly. And I think that
once you leave
that's
this.
something that, yeah, once you leave, and as funny as it is to say, Kanye West said something, and he says a lot of things that don't make sense. And, he's a wild one, but something that he said is that, he doesn't want his name to be remembered. And I didn't understand it in the quote. I don't want to butcher his quote and what he meant, but it took a couple of times for me to listen to it and to understand it from a different perspective of, he doesn't want his name to be remembered because he wants the impact that he had on society and culture to outlast him and his name and to anything that he could have ever built, the same way that other things do in that ultimate sense. And I think that I took away something that I could apply to myself, and that detaches it from Kanye and from whatever he was saying. But I think that there's some hidden truth to it, in a sense of, in life, I'm just trying to figure out how I can make this world a better place when I leave than when I found it. And I
Mm,
take that in everything that I do, and especially the disabled community, the Paralympics, specifically the Paralympics. Boy, do you have enough time to talk about that. But, I didn't know about the Paralympics till I was 22 years old, which
okay.
blows
Yeah.
my
Okay.
mind. And
Yeah.
that's such a crazy and ridiculous thing to be able to say. And my goal is to hopefully make it so that there's no other kid in the world, let alone the US, that lives 22 years of their life not knowing
Right.
that there is a world that will accept them, a community that will you know congratulate them, people that will you know accept them for who they are and what they're going through, and celebrate them for achieving the things that they want to achieve. And if I had known about the Paralympics when at an early age, my parents always tell me, like, "Oh, we're sorry, you know we're sorry we didn't know." But how would you be able
Yeah.
to know about something when I wasn't even diagnosed until I was 14? And it wasn't the fact that they didn't believe me that there was something wrong. It was just that because of the way that they raised me and the athletic things that I was able to do, there wasn't enough for them to say, "Hey, this impacts his life negatively this enough, so let's take him to the doctor because of something we see." It was just the way that they raised
Mm,
me. They didn't treat me any differently than they did my brother, who's five
right.
and a half years older than me. That I was just, as much as I hate saying it, I wanted to be just like him. He was
Mm,
my role model. He was the thing I look up to. Him and my dad were the people that I looked up to and wanted to be just like growing up. And it's such a powerful thing to come full circle at such an early age as me to have unfortunately gone through the amount of bad things and experience that I was forced to go through at a very young age, medically
mm,
and mentally, physically, to be able to realize now that none of that other stuff matters, and the impact that I can have on the Paralympic community, on the disabled community, and just in community and society as a whole, to hopefully better it than than it was when I first came in. Because to the fact that
mm.
I lived 22 years of my life having cerebral
Yeah.
palsy, not knowing that there was the Paralympics that I could compete in, is crazy.
That mean, yeah, that means there's a lot more awareness that needs to be done in this space. So,
Hmm.
but so I've heard rumors from other past interviews or podcasts that you've done. Are you working on a book?
I am.
Okay, and
I
how's
am.
that found? Or you did also have mentions about a foundation that you wanted to start, or anything you can share on either of those two projects, because I know those projects mean a lot to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely I'm hoping that my book will be out before Paris 2024. So late summer 2024, I'm hoping my book to be out before then. And then my foundation is still in the early works of trying to because I have my own idea and vision for it, and I want it to be something that raises awareness and funds for the disabled community as a whole. It doesn't need to be cerebral palsy specific. I want to be able to raise awareness about the Paralympics, about disability in sport, and to also be able
Right.
to help fund, athletes and people who don't have the ability to, get a prosthetic leg or a prosthetic arm or,
Mm.
a wheelchair, you know, to one, either live in, for day-to-day activities or to race in, just certain things that I want to be able to do to, have a community. I want to be able to build a community and have, seasonal, camps or events or, things that I'm able to do to be able to sort of create a community for people alike, to just be able to be accepted into and given a safe space to be able to grow and excel in their sport, in their life, to be able to what they're going to do and not be judged by other people
Mm.
that quote unquote aren't like them, that are normal. And that's I get so many messages from people, kids, and especially parents that contact me and they say, hey, my kid or is picked last because he has this disability and no one wants to pick him for recess or kickball or anything like
Right.
that. And what did you do? What did your parents do? And I try to help them as much as I can, but I just hope to then create a community where that isn't a thing, that people then are able to watch the Paralympics and see what these incredible athletes are able to do given
Yeah.
their physical disabilities, and they still are elite athletes. And it's so funny because so
Yeah.
many people will comment on my social media and they're like, oh, this isn't real, this you know this doesn't count. And that's my favorite thing, because people don't understand that these athletes are elite athletes. And if you were to line up on the line with these elite athletes, they will
Yeah.
dust you. Like, they will beat you at
Yes.
their sport. This is what they
Yes.
do. And they're
100%.
so
Yeah.
incredible, at the sport that they're doing. And such a rewarding and eye-opening experience for me, when I visit hospitals or go to any Paralympic event, is because I always learn something new. There's a disability that I
Yeah.
didn't even know existed. Or,
Yeah.
my favorite sport is wheelchair rugby. It's
Mm.
incredible.
Yeah.
These guys,
Yeah.
are in their wheelchairs and they are just beating each other up, given what they're doing, playing rugby on a basketball court, beating each other up. And it's just
Yeah.
so incredible to watch these athletes compete at the highest level of their sport, of what they're able to do. And it's so incredible. And I hope to, with my foundation and with my book, to spread awareness and, educate people, and with my foundation to be able to create an environment seasonally, yearly, and to be able to fund, the next generation of athletes to hopefully break my records, beat me in races, and do things that I didn't necessarily have the influence of in my childhood. And I think it
Wow.
all comes down to, one point in specifically, is to educate people. And I don't want to force anything onto anybody, and I don't want to, you know, have it be something that people need to learn about. If you want to learn about it, then learn about it. And then that's all my social media is I try to at first educate people and just let people know that, hey, this exists. And the
Yeah.
Paralympics exist. There's different classifications. I only compete against other athletes with the same severity of cerebral palsy that I have.
Right.
And I'm not racing against people in wheelchairs. I'm not racing against
Right.
amputees, and and those two don't race against each other. So it's just such a tough thing to navigate through. But those are two
Yeah.
things that I'm very passionate about, like you said, that I hope will you know raise awareness on the disabled community and the Paralympics specifically, and hopefully educate people worldwide and around the US to want to get involved, and people that didn't even know it existed, that hey, there's a community that will accept you, and there's a community that you can compete in, and if you don't feel accepted to, then come on in. And whether you're able-bodied or not. And that's another thing to me, is that it's not gonna be just for people with disabilities. It's gonna be
Mm.
anybody that wants to come in that I can benefit positively from. I want to create a positive environment for everybody to be able to compete with everybody. And that's what the world needs to be about, just a positive place for people to be accepted, celebrated, and that they can excel in. And that's what I'm hoping that these two things that I'm building will then be able to, achieve.
Wow. Well, I definitely look forward to looking at some of the amazing uh, things that your foundation will be doing in the future. Nick, I have two last questions for you. Number one is, can you share your thoughts on the future of Paralympics and how it can be improved, or what areas need to be improved in that?
Whew. I don't know if you have enough time for that, but um, in a short answer, I think it's already trending in such a positive and an upward trend of support and awareness and everything, that's going on. I think Tokyo was a very pivotal turn of events for us. I think that there was a lot of coverage and a lot of things in the right way that we didn't necessarily have before that. I don't even remember hearing about the Paralympics in 2016 in Rio, and
Mm,
I remember the promotional experience through Tokyo, and it was incredible to watch. And I think it's only gotten better, and I think the more that social media becomes a thing, if you look at the Paralympics TikTok, it's one of the most controversial things on social
mm,
media. And I think it's amazing. A lot of people have reached out to me and said, "Hey, they use these sounds and they're making fun of these athletes." No, they're not.
yeah.
It's just what you sort of have to do to have people watch it, and
Yep.
have these
Yep.
have these have these people in wheelchairs falling over, and it's a funny sound, or a funny trend that's going on, and they just apply it to what is happening right now, and are taking advantage of it, and it then creates a conversation, whether it be negative or positively, and then that creates more attention to that topic.
Mm,
And that's the goal, is that, and that's where we
yeah.
need, because once you gain someone's attention, then you're like, okay, I got you, and now I'm going to educate you on what the Paralympics are, because someone's going to see that and be like, what is this? And then they're going to want to know, they're going to click, they're going to watch. And I think that that's what needs to be, spoken about more. And I think that needs to be done more, is just um, more coverage, in general.
Mm,
And I know that, the business side of, NBC and, anything that
right.
they're doing. But personally, what I think can help the sport, get to um, a greater level, is just the individuals that are within the sport that have a platform, like myself. And one of my good friends, Hunter Woodhall, has such an amazing community that he's built with him and his
Mm,
wife, and they've done so much for the sport. And people that have found out about the sport through their social medias, and through his specifically, he's a double leg amputee, he's an incredible athlete,
mm,
and he's built such a great community for himself to further the sport, forward. And he brings up topics, and there's a lot of things that I think that can be built, but I think that it starts with us, the athletes, that will use our platform that we've been given by the fans, by the community, to then like wrap it back around and educate more people, and to tell your experience, and I think that that's something that can propel it forward. And then within it, just there's a lot of stuff medically, classification wise, that are all, orchestrated and held by the higher ups, that I think they are trying to figure out. They have
mm.
our best
Okay.
interest in mind, but it's super tough, and it's never going to be perfect. But
Yeah.
I hope that they, recognize what's good for the sport, and they can help, move it forward. But it's such a hard thing to do, and that's
Yeah. I
something
can.
down
I
the
can
line.
imagine.
That's something down the line that I definitely want to be a part of in one way or another, to help, for the greater good. And we'll see where that goes. By no means am I going to retire and jump and work for the IPC or the Paralympic Committee. That's not
Right.
something I want to do. But right now, down the line, that's something I want to dive into and help. I think there's a lot more opinions to be heard. There's a lot more things to be done, and it's all in a positive direction. Um, and I'm looking forward to Paris, and I'm looking forward to LA. I think LA will be
Mm.
boom. I think LA is what's going to set it off to take the Paralympics to a whole new height, and I cannot wait. I'll be, close your ears, I'll be 32 for that. So, but that's why I'm excited, man. I think I'll have such a greater outlook on everything, and as quote unquote old as I'll be a lot more wise. So
No,
I'm looking forward to
definitely,
it.
definitely. No, wow. Yeah. Nick, I want to ask you one last question, which is
Mhm.
who has been one of the most inspiring persons in your life and what lessons have you learned from them?
It's I've been thinking about this a lot, and because I've had so many great people in my life that have stuck by me. Obviously my brother being one of them, he's always believed in me and my family in general. But my dad, just thinking back to growing up and everything that he's gone through, having beat cancer and having his spirits be as positive as they were that entire time that he was going through radiation and going with him
Mm,
to those appointments and watching him lay down and receive that radiation and listening to the music Ozzy that he'd play and just all the music that he'd play to hype himself up to be able to go in that room and do withstand all of that and to be able to watch him do all that with such high spirits, it just reassures me that I'm able to do anything that I can do um, to be successful, for him, for my family. My family has been my biggest inspiration, but my dad has always been as one of them ones that has inspired me and taught me to never give up. That uh, to rub some dirt on it, no matter what it is, and get back out there. And no matter the speed bump that might come into your life, that everything's going to be all right, and as long as you believe in yourself and never give up, then anything is possible. And he's a true testament to that and what he's gone through in his life. And still to this day, he's such a bright light in my life and support system. And I love him, and my family is such a big piece to me, and they're the ones, they're the reasons why I do what I do, truthfully, is to be able to
wow.
repay them for the sacrifices that they've made in their life to be able to ensure that I'm able to do what I've done. Up until this day, I wouldn't be here without them. And, it's just, I'm very lucky and very blessed to be able to have, people that love me as much as I love them. And, it's only going to get better from here. And, I'm super excited to experience that and have them along the way to experience it with me.
Wow. Well, your father certainly sounds like an incredible man, and thank you so much for sharing that personal story. It's my favorite question to ask because we can talk about different topics, but this is like the one thing that universally we can all relate to. It's love. It's a human connection. So I
Mhm.
genuinely love listening to guests' answers for that, and what a great response, Nick. I am super excited for you. Super excited for you for Paris. Super excited for you in LA once you're 32 years old. We'll definitely be paying a very close attention to you, and we're very excited. And Nick, can you please let us know where our listeners can find you, whether it's social media or a website or anywhere where they can find you?
Yeah, man. You guys can follow me at Nick Mayhugh, NickMayhugh, on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat if you'd like. Anything that my fans want to be interactive as much as possible. I'm always open to answer as many questions or help anybody that I can help with. Whether it be information or education or anything in between. I'm there for you guys. So at Nick Mayhugh on all socials. And yeah, man, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. And you opened up a little bit for me, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. And
Definitely, definitely. No, we'll definitely make that happen. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I sincerely can't wait to see. I mean, all the things that you're already doing, but also bringing the awareness aspect for Paralympics. I mean, it's going to be very exciting. So please keep up the incredible work. Thank you so much for your time.
appreciate you. Thank you.